All right, can you guys hear me okay? No? Got a couple of quick announcements. I'm JP Moses, and I'm going to be your host for this journey this evening. I hope you're done eating, because you must stop eating now. Obviously kidding. Please, you're welcome to get seconds. We also have take-home boxes if you'd like to take some food home at the end of the night, so you can get seconds anytime you want. Open door. I am so excited for the journey we have tonight, because we are here to celebrate heroes, the hero stories of some very important people, specifically heroic children whose lives are being changed literally every day. The circumstances are the worst you can possibly imagine in their life that they're emerging from, and the choices they're making are making a huge difference. And those are the first hero stories that we want to focus on. Secondly, heroic shepherds, the people in their lives who are walking beside them, mentoring them, teaching them, and every step of the way, doing the doing on a day-to-day basis. And then you, most of you here, if you have not personally been a part through your generosity of these hero stories, then there's someone at your table who certainly has, and we're here to celebrate your heroism as well. So it's an exciting journey we have in store tonight. I want to thank you for joining us, and I want to say hi to the live stream. Hey, Mom in Oak Ridge. So glad you could be here. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing with your time tonight, but you've decided to be here with us, or remotely here with us, and we're going to do our very best to make it more than worth your while over the next few minutes that we have together. 4 vibrant hero stories we're going to journey in together, and each is a chapter, each has an origin to it, each has a villain or several villains, and I just can't wait to get to it. Those of you who maybe are new to TFC, welcome. TFC is the Forsaken Children. Occasionally I may refer to it as TFC, just to help you with a cheat sheet mentally. If you're new to the Forsaken Children, I can't think of a better way to concisely summarize the heart of the Forsaken Children than a short video that I'd like to kick off with. So without further ado,
in Ethiopia today, spiritual and physical poverty is at war, fighting for the lives and futures of children. Across the capital city, tens of thousands of children are without a family, without food or shelter. For these kids, what started as hope of escaping generations of destitution and family trauma for work in the big city quickly turns into a life on the streets. And once there, it's almost impossible to escape. On the streets, many turn to drugs just to numb the pain and fear. Some are forced into the sex industry with the promise of survival. There's no social safety net for these precious souls. The question lingers: is there any hope? The Forsaken Children exist to rescue, restore, and rebuild the children of Ethiopia, supporting purposeful, holistic work that rescues children from the streets, restores them to family and school, rebuilding lives through education and the good news of Christ's love. Because no one's child should live this way. Because children should be set free to live abundant lives. What does this look like? This looks like rescue centers in Ethiopia's capital to help children come out of street life, to hear the good news of a God who knows them and loves them, to heal from trauma and be reunited with family. This looks like an empowerment program that helps teen girls come out of the sex industry and into discipleship and employment training that provides the tools necessary for safe jobs that offer income and dignity. This looks like rural school outreaches to adolescent girls, providing God-honoring body education and washable, reusable feminine hygiene products so that they can stay in school and not have to drop out once they hit puberty. And this looks like ongoing food, housing, and education support for families living on the edge, so children are less vulnerable to the pull of the streets and grounded in stability. This is a big task. How does this happen? This only happens when everyday people who see children in need respond to make a difference and change a child's life forever. The fuel for this great task to rescue, restore, and rebuild Ethiopia's children comes from friends like you who pray, share, and give. Friends that defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. God sees and loves His children in Ethiopia, and He is using His people here to stand in the gap for them. And as we speak, lives are being changed forever. The good news and thoughtful, holistic ministry is tangibly changing the story for boys and girls in Ethiopia, all because God's people are choosing to love in word and deed.
The forsaken children. I've been involved with this ministry for so long that those words almost have lost their effect because you say a thing so many times you forget what it really means. Those are potent words, the forsaken children. These are children, real children whose stories we know, who we know personally, not just their stories, but their names and their faces. This is deeply personal and meaningful. This organization God has used as fuel to change so many of these children's lives. But it's a grassroots organization. This is not top heavy. I don't know what your expectations might be of an organization that can have this kind of impact, but it's all volunteers and part-timers. So I want to say thank you to those of you who have been faithfully, generously giving to the stories. We're going to hear 4 here in just a moment. We're going to spotlight 4 heroic stories. I would also like to say thank you to our volunteers lest I forget, our volunteers who have not only served tonight, but who continue to serve the good work that this ministry does in the lives of real humans. And I would like to thank our sponsors as well, who generously help make this evening possible. And thanks to our board as well. Can I just ask, whoever's a board member of the Forsaken Children, would you stand so we can just lay eyes on you? You guys. For the record, they didn't ask to be acknowledged. They were probably shy about it, but it was in my heart, and I feel that they deserve all the warm and fuzzy love that we can give them. So I would like to invite the founding board member, Randall, to come up here to have a conversation with us about our very first hero story. Randall is the founding board member. He is my father-in-law. Yes, he's worth a clap. Randall, let me ask you first, before we talk about our first hero, just going back to the question that we started with tonight, who's been a hero and why? I don't know if did anybody have a chance to kick that around tonight at all at your table? 2 or 3 of you? That's all right, it was an option. At least it got your gears moving in the right direction. What does heroic mean to you in context of our conversation tonight, just off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I think with this first kid that we're going to talk about, to me is heroic in what he's gone through to try to accomplish something in his life, and it's a touching story. I'm glad we're highlighting him.
So Fikadu has a special place in your heart, not just because of your connection to the Forsaken Children. Could you just in 1 or 2 minutes kind of give us some context for his backstory, his origin story, since we're talking about heroes?
Yeah, I met Fikadu, I think in 2017, and I was visiting in Addis Ababa, which is the capital of Ethiopia, where much of our work is done. And Fakado was fantastic because he knew English and he could translate for me with the other kids and stuff. And so he was obviously a very bright young man, and he had a very vibrant personality, I guess you'd say. And so it was fun just being with him, but he decided that he wanted to try to do his last year of school, his senior year of school here in the States. And our missionaries who were there were kind of trying to help him accomplish that. And so Marianne and I became the host family for Fakadu while he finished his year here of high school. He went to Rossville Christian Academy. And so I was driving out there every day, but it was great.
Anybody here have a chance to meet Fakadu when he was here? All right, you know he's a character. He's an awesome guy, and also he's a character. So let's just hear Fakadu's story concisely from his own mouth. So we'll just roll a video he put together of Fakadu's story.
I'm Fakadu Alemu Zauditu. I'm 19 years old. My dad died. Of course, I don't know him. My mom also passed away. I think she had some kinds of illness. I started living on street because there was no other options. Like, there was no place to go. My uncles from my mom's side, they come and they said they will give us an opportunity to attend school, which is in a rural area. I went with my sister. I was looking to go to school, and then they said they changed their mind. My sister, she was very small. We were for them, like, without any benefit. My uncle, he was very mean, like, he insulted me, and also he used to beat me. So I couldn't live in that kinds of situations. So there was no option. I went to straight. I don't know if I really could explain it very well. Have you ever think like this? You are in a desert, like you don't have any food to eat, any water to drink, or anybody to help you. It's just like that, like you don't have any options. If you get, you'll eat. If you get sick, maybe like some generous guy will come and help you. It was really like the worst situation in my life. You sleep and it's very cold. Like maybe it's gonna rain, but it will rain or not. It's still cold. But when it rains, it's the worst time for us. So the police will come and like we try to take ourselves like under some kinds of cover, like try to find shade. They will come, they will beat you and say, don't be here. They always like push us, like beat us, don't be here, don't be here. That was really hard. And the other hard thing is people, they don't trust you. Like because like we really wear dirty clothes, it doesn't mean like our hearts are dirty or we have dirty minded, but they don't trust us. We share everything we got. Like if you got money, that money is not yours. You share with someone. You get food, you share with someone. If you have like 2 clothes, you give one for someone. If you have a shirt and a jacket, you have to give one for someone. No and yes. Like, there was many times I was really hopeless. It was like, you saw a kid walking with mom or with their dad, and you wish you are one of them. Unfortunately, but you cannot be one of them. So like, even if you are in the desert, you always put some kinds of goal to achieve. I don't have someone who's gonna be with me to push me to my goal. So like, there were many times like I feel hopeless. They were like selecting kids for the center. So before they took kids to the center, they always come to the street, maybe spend some time with them. I went to them and I said, I also want to change my life. Then I just joined the drop-in center in Anasimos. I think it really helped me and my friends, especially who were in the addiction, to at least forget the addiction until like 3:30. Like, we play like some games. I usually play soccer, that's my main sport, and we get food there. So now we have somewhere to spend the time. And also I think we spent really a good time with friends. We were 32 or 33 when we joined the center, but 3 of us graduated from the center, me, Nawai, and the Guta. Later we named the Guta Ermias. After we graduated from the center, 3 of us, we joined to live with other boys in the same house. If you have a family, they will return you to your family. If you don't have a family, they will give you the house living with other boys. I started living in the halfway home with me and Miabezo, really a man. Then I started my second grade. I become aware of the Forsaken Children 2012. Then we know TFC were helping us to get school and to get food. I mean, join the KK, they are one of the part of TFC. I would say TFC is like an umbrella. Umbrella provide for you a shade, like it will protect you from the sun and protect you from the rain. So TFC is like that for me, like especially for kids, like for most of us who raised in Anasimos, because TFC helped us with providing meals, medical, school bills, clothes. So I would say TFC is an umbrella. So when I always being hopeless, I always know I have to push because I know someone is helping me. So I don't have to like worry like I used to worry when I used to live on the street. So now I know now if I'm really on the right track, someone got my back. So I always focus on my future. Some gracious people helping me to join the KK. So I'm here. I went to Rosso. feel special. Um, I didn't expect that, but like, especially on my graduation day, I was telling to Miss Miriam, at least I cried for an hour in the shower. Yeah, like, it seems impossible, but I don't know how it become possible. So I feel special. Man, it was a lot of money, like people willing to pay for my everything. Yeah. I say thank you.
That story gets me every time I see it, and to have the chance to be a part of Fikadu's story and impacting him and being an umbrella for him to help make impossible things possible. What a remarkable story that is. So you had a unique opportunity, Dad, to see him through the lens of both being there in Ethiopia, seeing him in an earlier stage, and then seeing him, living with you for that season he was here. What things do you see in Fikadu that reflect the heroism that we're talking about? What are the ingredients of heroic?
Well, this is not the heroism, but he did take long showers.
Yes.
But I mean, if you listen to what he's talking about when he's living on the streets, they shared everything, food, money, whatever they got. This, he has a tremendous ethic, I guess you'd say, for generosity and helping people. And I'm also impressed with the fact that he sought out TFC. He sought out our partner there in Addis, and he wanted to make something of his life.
He said, I want to change my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he pursued that, and he found it. And I think that's very heroic.
I think graduating with honors, making the heroic decision to not just approach the center, but he had his sights set on changing his life for the rest of his life and being here and really doing the hard work.
He did great in school. He did work hard. He sometimes asked us for help, on math, I think especially. But he really applied himself, for sure. And as you said, he graduated with honors. So, he did a great job.
This is not the last you'll see or hear Fikadu tonight, so we'll circle back to him. But let me ask you, what do you see as, in Fikadu's story specifically, how would you characterize the villains in his story that he had to overcome?
Well, he didn't really share this in the video, but he was living on the street at one point with his mom and his sister. His mom died, and that's when he had to go live with the uncle who beat him, and that's when he decided to go back to the street. So, here was a tremendous enemy, the loss of family and parent. And he talked about seeing other kids with their parents and
what a privilege, what a remarkable privilege we had to help be his umbrella, and you had for a season to be the parents that he didn't have.
Well, and Joe and Karen have been parents to him. These are the missionaries in Ethiopia that he's living with now. So that's also a part of his story. So, and the main enemy he's faced is really poverty, and I think the devil's all in that.
Yeah.
And trying to steal from him the abundant life, as Jesus said. And so he has found Christ and knows Christ, and so this is the greatest wealth that he could get, and the defeat of the enemy. So we're very proud of him.
Well said. So that's our first heroic story in this journey. It's time to turn to our second hero, and for this conversation, Lisa Conley, I'd like to invite you up here. Where is Lisa? There she is. I asked Lisa, what would you like me to say about you as you come up? And she said, I'm a mom, steeped in the tea of missions my whole life, which, good word choice. Passion for Africa and the poor, and there's no doubt about that. She is a vibrant piece of the heart of the Forsaken Children. And P.S., also the communications director for the organization, for anyone who's playing along at home. So let's see, do you have images? Okay, you want to give some context? There's going to be some images scrolling as I ask Lisa questions. What are we going to be seeing in the background?
So I was so excited last fall, to visit one of TFC's partners, several partners, but specifically to spend time at the Girls Center. We talked about Fakadu going to the rescue center for boys, and for a long time that was really mostly what we worked with, because issues with girls living on the street are just different and more complicated. And so after many years of prayer, the board and our partners developed a program for girls. So girls who were living on the streets, homeless, to come out of that life, live in a girls' home center together, family atmosphere together. It's called the Kalkanen Center. And so I got the chance to visit with those girls.
And this was the first all-girls center, right?
Yeah, it's the first all-girls center.
That's remarkable.
It's the first cohort. These pictures of these girls, they're the first girls to go through this program. And I don't know, to steal the surprise, they just graduated in July.
The first group, right? Yeah,
first
just
group
graduated
to
in July.
graduate, right?
Wow. So let's just take a step back, or a step up, I guess. What's the origin story in a nutshell of this all-girls center? Can you share that?
Sure. So our partner, Make Your Mark, like I said, issues with girls are different who live homelessly on the street. They oftentimes can't go back to their families. There's a lot of just barriers for them, especially without school. And so they will typically beg on the street, can often get into some very unfavorable situations you can imagine. So this cohort of girls, the team that is our partner, Make Your Mark, they go out into the spots, the hot spots, under the bridges, in the corners. Fakadu mentioned it, but people don't see these kids.
Right, they're just part of the fabric of the background, mostly.
I mean, sometimes if they see them as like vermin, like they don't want to see them. And so the team goes out and spends a lot of time doing pre-work with girls, just talking to them, hearing their story, see if they want something different, and inviting them to come into this place, the Kalkanen Center. And it's a place where they come and live because, girls have different issues. It's a 9-month to 1-year program that they live. In this program, they kind of come out of street life. Some are addicted to things like glue. They learn how to live in a family type situation with social workers and moms. They learn to deal with their trauma. Sometimes here in America we don't deal with trauma. We just shove it down. There, that's a whole new level of shoving it down. And so, talking about those hard things, pains that they've seen and experienced, rejections, so that they can heal and go on to the next thing. So they do a lot of that. They also learn things that they can do to provide for themselves in the future.
Yeah, life skills, right? Because
Right.
if I'm not mistaken, and you've been there personally, I've not been there before, but my understanding is that in the Ethiopian culture, the boys, even if they come from a background of homelessness and being a street child, they know that baked into their gender is going to be providing for themselves, but it is not part of the culture of Ethiopia that girls know how to provide for themselves. And so it's part of what they learn. That's what you were sharing with me the other day.
Exactly, yeah.
That's remarkable.
Also, one thing that they learn too is how to relate healthfully to each other. If you're running in a pack of girls on the street, you can imagine that can be kind of dicey, and you can learn some bad patterns of relating. So they're really learning how to relate well. Some of these girls came to the center with kids. So, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls already had a baby. You can see there's one right there. And so, over this 9-month-year process, they're learning how to change things for their baby as well.
Can you tell me again how this first cohort of girls became the first cohort of girls? Were they discovered? Did they discover this place?
They were discovered because it didn't exist yet. So our team went to the bridges and the boxes and the alleys and talked with them and invited them, and they took the step to come in faith because they don't know who we are. They don't know who our team is. And they came. And they hung in there for a year. And they learned how to do hair and how to be a chef and all of these amazing things. And they graduated, and they're all living independently now.
How many girls are in this first group, you said?
They started, was it 12?
I think so.
12 and finished with 9. Yeah, so that's pretty good odds.
That's a dozen girls whose lives are forever changed. Their trajectory has been wholesale changed.
And they're still in touch with our team, so our team is walking with them through, what does it look like when food costs this much money and you have this much money. And so it's not like, kicking them out of the nest necessarily. It's a process, just like with our kids.
So when you were there and you had a chance to see these girls with your own eyes, and just, how long were you there for that season?
We were in October.
Okay.
Yeah, they had been in for about 6 months.
What made the biggest impact on you seeing that? What did you walk away with deep inside because of that?
I was just really impacted at just their love for each other, their love for each other's babies, the family aspect to their interactions, the heart of the social workers to not just, they weren't just there working a job. They were loving these girls through hard things and knowing their stories. To know somebody's story sometimes is very burdensome. And I saw them walk with those girls through hard things, and that was a blessing.
As I think about the heroic choice that those 12 girls made to step into this, what I'm sure is a weird situation for them, right? I mean, there's nothing normal about being in a rescue home. It strikes me that it's heroic. It's so heroic that, as you said, that they were able to find the strength to face traumas in that year-long journey, right? To really look at, I can only imagine some of the traumas that you experience when you walk the road that they've been on. And also there's a trust barrier, I think, that you have to push through because you learn, I'm sure, to distrust people walking that road. And it's a real heroic decision to choose to move forward into a brave new world, even if you don't have the trust built yet.
One thing I think is really important too is, these girls, many of them, I don't know if the picture's in there, but they accepted Christ and got baptized. And my pastor on Sunday said this that really touched me. He said, until you taste and see somebody's heart for you, your ears are sort of closed to the good news of the gospel. And so, a lot of times, you think it's all gospel or all helps, right? But they're just together. Jesus loved his people with his hands and with his food, and that when people feel that, they feel loved and cared for, their ears are slowly open to the good news of the gospel, and then real deeper change is possible. So not just like the hungry, the full belly, but also a full heart and spirit. So, and that happened with these girls. It took a while, of course, but.
I think it's really special to me too that, the Forsaken Children has a rich history of being an umbrella for rescue centers in Ethiopia, but this being the first that is exclusive to girls, and there's such a gap there to serve the least of these that are girls in Ethiopia, and that's really special to me. Before we move on to our hero number 3 story, is there anything else about the all-girls center? Any points we didn't discuss? Okay. Let's pivot and let's learn about Caleb. Caleb has a very special story, and he tells it in his own words.
ስም ማን ነው? ስንት ዓመት ነው?
ቃላ ጌታ ይባላል። 13 ዓመት ነው። የሰፈር ልጆች ናቸው ይዘው የመጡት። በቃ ልጆች ምናምን የሰፈር ልጆች የሉም ጓደኞቼ። እዛ ከተማ ነው ትልቅ ከተማ ነው።
ለዛ ነው ጎዳና ላይ ያለው። ምን ይመስላል እስቲ ህይወት በጎዳና በደንብ አድርገን ንገረን።
ህይወት በጎዳና በጣም መጥፎ ነው። ለሰው ልጅ አይመኝም። በቃ መጥፎ ባህሪ ያላቸው የብልግና ነገር አላቸው። የተለያየ ነገር ነው። በጣም መጥፎ ናቸው። ሱስ ምናምን ሰውነት ስለሚገሉ ሰው ላይ ይጠቀማል። ማታ ማታ ባቡር ስር ነው ዛፓ ምናምን ፖሊስ ምናምን ያባል በጣም አሪፍ ነው። ከጠበቁት በላይ በጣም ተመችቶኛል። ከውጭ እዚህ ይሻላል መሰለኝ። ስለዚህ እየተማርኩ ነው፣ እውቀትም እየተማርኩ ነው። እውቀት እየፈለግኩ ነው። ደስ ብሎኛል። ውጭ ግን አላገኝም፣ እውቀትም አላገኝም። በቃ ዝም ብሎ ሱስ ብቻ ማጠቃም ራሴ መውደድ ነው።
ወደፊት መሆን የምታልመው ነገር
አርጌ በቃ ቤተሰቦችን መርዳት ነበር። ቤተሰቦችን ዘመዶችን ችግር ላይ ያሉትን ይመስላል። ከበቂ በላይ ስላደረጉልኝ እስከዛሬ ስላደረሱ
Caleb's story rings similar to Fikadu's, but also it's his own, and it's unique and stands out in its own. Lisa, you took the video that we just saw, is that right?
Yeah.
Why Caleb? What made him the hero story?
So Joe, I got to visit with Joe and Jonathan, the social worker there at that center. It's called the Joy Center, and it is a joy center. And so we asked, sometimes kids don't want to share their story. Adults don't want to really always share their story. And we just asked if we could hear, and they automatically said, come talk to Caleb. He was already, 6 weeks into this program. He was a leader with his peers. He had joy. He was really working the program, participating in the deep work that happened with trauma counseling, and he loved reading. He loved to read. He loved to have the chance to read. We played memory like 50 times in an afternoon. He's a very gifted young man.
It's kind of sad that he's unique, but this is a typical story in some ways. Like Fakadu is a true orphan, but Caleb is not, but he was enticed to the streets. So people would tell him that if you go to Addis, you can find help and money and work and whatnot. And they get there, and of course that's not the case.
They're trafficked, basically.
That happens too, yeah. And some of them just go on their own, but they end up in that bad situation. And fortunately, he was rescued by our ministry. So
let me ask this question for both of you. Where do you see heroism in Caleb's story specifically? One thing that comes to my mind is the gentleman who was boots on the ground, right? The shepherd role, right? The adults who were there doing the doing on a daily basis, and we got to see on the side of that video one of those heroes.
Yeah, they're great, and they get training. They learn how to deal with and work with kids from the streets. And they love kids, and that's the main thing. And so, yeah, they're definitely heroes themselves.
I say that burden is very heavy for them as well. I had a chance to talk to Jonathan for a bit, and just carrying these stories of 15 kids, 10, 15 kids, that are sort of irresolvable. It's a heavy burden, to hear and process and help them process and help them grow. So I see them, just being brave to be able to listen to somebody else's pain and process and help them process that pain with a goal at the end, to not just for the pain's sake, but, loving them and loving them towards Christ, toward Jesus, and toward healing.
Yeah, Caleb, spoiler alert. Close your ears if you don't like spoilers. Caleb's story, obviously his trajectory changed significantly from street life. He's in a much better trajectory. And that video was taken only 6 weeks after he was at Make Your Mark. But the rest of his story is even better. And we'll circle back to Caleb's story at the end of our time tonight. So let's turn now to our fourth hero, the Girls Empowerment Center. So this is exciting too, because it's another ministry that specifically fills the gap that is so deep and so wide for women, for girls in Ethiopia. Where do we start talking about that?
So when girls, we talked about issues with girls can be complicated. One of those complicated issues is sex work. Sex trade. For girls, especially if they don't finish school, if they run into family violence or poverty, lots of reasons, girls can end up in the sex trade. And so they all connect. Poverty, homelessness, all of this connects. And so this is just a hole that our board saw, really, and the Forsaken Children really seeks to be this full umbrella, not like half of an umbrella, but a full umbrella that kind of deals with all the different issues that are related. And so the board started supporting a new partner in Addis over the last 2 years, and it's called Arise Global, and they have a girl empowerment program. And so it helps girls who want to leave the sex industry, whether they've been trafficked, whether they've grown up in it, whether they've had to be there, that they want to come out. So it's a 9-month process. They don't move into a center. They come every day, and they stay in their community. They stay where they live and work their program that way. And by the end of those 9 months, they have come out of that work. They have learned new, dignified careers and job opportunities. They have become empowered to care for themselves in a way that honors themselves and is safe.
Wow.
So you may notice that there are no pictures up there. We don't take pictures because there's just a lot. We want to protect their dignity. And, there's a lot connected with just that story and that experience. So we don't take pictures. And I did get to go visit Arise and the ladies at Arise last year. And so I'd like to just kind of invite you into my experience, what that was like. I was excited to be able to, on behalf of the board, see this ministry that we've been praying for so long, especially through the pandemic. And, this is a new foray for the Forsaken Children, this issue. And so we took a long drive across the city, one of the pastors from my church and I. And so I had a long time to think about where I was going. So I'm just going to ask you for a minute. It might feel a little weird, but it's really
you guys
just
up for
the
an
best
experiment?
way.
You want to experiment with us?
We do something
Yeah,
weird.
I see 2 hands. The 2 of you who volunteered to experiment. You don't have to come up here, but just follow along.
But I think it's just the best way to kind of communicate it, because I can tell you, but I really would rather kind of just show you. And so I would just ask you for a minute just to close your eyes. And just imagine, if you're on a long car ride, what you would expect that you were going to see when you got to a girls' empowerment program where girls had come out of trafficking, prostitution, sex work. And just take a minute and just think of what you would think about on the way and what you would expect you might see. So you can open your eyes now if you want. I don't know what you expected, but I'm going to be honest with what I expected. I expected to feel embarrassed for them and for myself. I expected to see shame, maybe, and because they knew I knew their story, and they knew who I was. So I was a little nervous, and I was anxious, and I kind of came in with maybe my head a little low, and not maybe wanting to make eye contact a little bit.
Kind of reflecting the energy that you expected to.
Yeah,
You
I
didn't want to
really
overpower.
did.
Yeah.
I expected that heaviness. But man, I have to tell you, I was so wrong. We walked into this room, and there was a room of 25 women, young women, 14 to 22. And they were like glad we were there, and they were excited. And, the staff gave the opportunity for them to share their story. Everybody's been in a situation where they're like, who wants to share their story? And, it's hard to get a story out of people, but they couldn't wait. They talked over each other to tell me their story.
Wow.
Not their story of shame, but their story of empowerment. And so I've never really seen, the definition of a word, empowerment, but I saw it, on their face.
Yeah.
I saw I saw women like look me in the eye and tell me about their business that is 2 blocks away where they sell used clothes, and they've made seed money to help some other woman in the group start a business that provides, a tea service and coffee service. And these girls were glowing. I mean, they were glowing.
Yeah, those are the words you used the first time you
Yeah.
shared this with me. You walk in expecting to experience broken, and I'm sure they are broken in ways inside, but they're not living in that brokenness. They're not living in this fragile, downtrodden state, but vibrant and joyful and glowing.
Yeah, they are not who they were. And they are not what they were, and they were not what they experienced anymore. I mean, and I just wished I had like you and you and you in my pocket to be able to see, because it's easy to just, think, oh yes, lives are being changed in Africa and it's far away. But I mean, these girls were on fire. I mean, they were on fire, and they were bringing other girls who they knew that were stuck in, dark situations, and helping them to get out. And it really was like the embodiment, really, of girl empowerment.
So, off the top of your head, can you just quickly touch on, I'm interested if you can remember 1 or 2 specific girls and their stories, and not the whole story, but just a couple of specific girls who embodied that and that you walked away really remembering.
Yeah, so one girl, which I just thought it was ingenious, so one of the main people are, what's the word? It's an Orthodox faith. There's a lot of Orthodox faith in Ethiopia, Ethiopian Orthodox. And so going with that, there are needs for like flowers for certain holidays and specific to the faith. And she had the idea to provide those things, to provide the flowers, the certain teas, the certain things that go with that. And her business was booming. And she was just talking to me, and like face to face, just boom, 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 and how she was expecting to grow her business. And it was just really cool, because I thought it was a really creative, there were a lot of people who were doing hair, which was awesome and working, and a lot of people doing coffee, and a lot of people doing clothing, but this was, I thought, a really unique, she saw a unique need, and she figured out how to meet it, and it was super successful. Another girl, she was working in the hospitality field and going to school, and she just, she would talk a little bit about her past, and she would say, when things were bad, when things were dark, when things were hard, but now I have this hope, and I'm going to work my way up to be, a pastry chef, actually. I'm looking at our pastry down there, and it's like she wanted to be a pastry chef, and she's, working and also in school. So it's amazing.
That's amazing.
When you think about a year before that, where she was. And she was excited, and I was excited for her. The pastor I was with, when we both left, we just were like in the car, both of us just blown away at what we saw. Just blown away. Just so surprised.
As far as we know, we're the only ministry to girls this age in this situation in Ethiopia. So this is a very unique ministry and outreach, and the program they've developed is really helpful in freeing these girls. So we're very excited.
Yes. It's clearly, just in the 2 example girl stories that you shared, heroic stories, to be sure. How do you see, can you put some words, both of you, to the heroism you see in the Girls Empowerment Program? Just what words would you put to that?
I think overcoming the shame is a huge one, and so they have demonstrated courage and heroism in not yielding and submitting to the shame, and
Yes.
and really trying to make a difference in their lives. And
Shame is bondage.
it's powerful. It's very powerful
Yes.
bondage. Yeah.
I I see, I mean, the girls are definitely heroic and the team, but like Jesus is the hero there. He sees that woman and sees her, and that's not who she is, and he can speak into that and heal that. I mean, you know, no other God does that. No other God, when they free you from sin and frees you from shame, like really frees you. Like you still have to pay penance and you still have to, wear it.
Yeah.
But not with Christ. And so I see just Jesus, the hero there. He has the power to break that sin and that bondage and that shame.
I'm so glad you said that, because it's the center of the core value of the Forsaken Children. You know, that we've talked just about a section of the ministry partners that we have an opportunity, the privilege of being umbrellas for and helping to fuel the work on the ground. There's more than we've talked about tonight, but every single organization that we work with, that we are an umbrella for, has to not only help meet the needs of the least of these and change the trajectory in their story, but all through a lens of Jesus. Jesus is a critical piece of that puzzle. It's the cornerstone, if I can use the reference there. And I'm so glad you brought that in to this part of the conversation, because we'd be remiss if we didn't absolutely spotlight that the biggest piece of that is introducing them to Jesus. Amen. Wonderful. Well, so you've had an opportunity to visit a number of our heroes and hear a little of their story, their hero journey, and the villains they've encountered and how their stories have changed. Another little surprise video I guess I'd like to finish with is the end of the story for Fikadu and Caleb. So without further ado,
So one day I will be a role model for other persons. I am hopeful one day I will be in USA, in your state, and tell you my story. But you will see me by your naked eyes. Thank you.
To present to you the Rossville Christian Academy graduated class of 2022.
Prayer, because we come in really difficult situation. Every orphan kids have some kinds of trauma. Maybe they lose their parent, they lose an important person in their life. So each kid have their own trauma, and pray for that. And also, to do these things, you need money. I would say each money you guys put to the TFC bank account will add some value to kids in Ethiopia.
Well, Fakadu said it very well, didn't he? That money that you put into the account adds value to these kids. I can't tell you how thankful and grateful we are for all of you, because you have indeed been the fuel that's led to the life changes of kids like Fakadu and Caleb. And so thank you. We're really, really appreciative of that. You believe in the possibility of changing lives, and that's what we're about. I think of that illustration that Pastor Matt used at the very beginning here of the hot sauce and opening the bottle top a little bit, and that little change making a difference. And that's what you can do. Maybe some of you are already giving. Maybe you're giving monthly. Maybe you add a little bit more to that monthly gift. That little change can make a huge difference in the lives of these kids. Maybe you want to give a one-time gift. That's fine too. Lisa, how do we do that? What can we do to make that happen?
So on our website, it's that. You can go there and as the Lord leads, give. Also on your tables is a white envelope. If you'd like to, there's some response cards there. If the Lord leads you to respond, you can respond through the envelope and the response card. Also, right outside the doors where you checked in are some people who can help you process a gift online. So any of those things. I would say, these days are very tense days. Money is hard. Gas and food and everything, we feel it. I feel it. Our family feels it. And it's just hard. And so we want you to know that we're grateful just for your past support. We're grateful for your continued support, your future support. It takes faith to, especially as things are tighter, in our communities, to give to people that you don't know and you don't see and you won't probably see, and that you just are trusting are going to get the money. So we just want to tell you, and we want you to know that we really value that trust and appreciate it. Somebody said to me, when a lot of people pull in and give what they can, it's a big difference maker. Some people can give a lot and not feel it. Some people can give a lot and really feel it. Some people can give what they think is a little. But when it all comes together, the Lord does it. Like tonight, we had people who were gifted in flowers and had great stuff in their backyards, and they helped us put these beautiful things on the table. And we had a board member who's gifted in, she's a chef, she's a pastry chef, and she put in, and so it's like all of us, it's like the body, when we just use our gifts together, amazing things happen, and things like Fakadu and Caleb and the girls and the Kalkanon Center and the Girls Empowerment Program, that happens when we all just, in faith, just love our neighbor. And so we just invite you to do that. And if that's not something that is possible, we invite you to pray. Please pray. Please pray for Fakadu. Pray for the boys that have just started a new drop-in center cycle. We do about 3 cycles a year of new boys. About half of them stay in the program, half of them leave. Pray for the girls that are in these situations. We're getting ready to invite new girls into the center. So there's a place for everyone, for the Lord to use gifts of prayer, gifts of money, gifts of time, and we're just grateful for that. So.
Thank you for giving. We'll give you a few minutes to make a response, and then Don Gilbert, our chairman of the board, will come and lead us in prayer.
We are so grateful to have you join us tonight. I want to thank Chef Kyle from Central for the meal. I want to thank all the volunteers that came and helped us set up and take down and all the things behind the scenes. But most important, all this is done to bring God glory through the lives that we're able to touch in Ethiopia. So we're so grateful that you've come and joined us tonight. Before I pray, some of you have been asked to stay and help us break down. So for some of us, the night is not over yet. It's still a young night, and we're going to give people 10 minutes to clear out. And then those of you who are going to stay and help, if you'll come up to the stage, I'll give you detailed instructions on how we'll clear all this out and return it to a worship center by Sunday. And also, just as a reminder, in the back, we have food for you to take home and some take-home boxes, and we'd love for you to help us take that away so that we're not throwing anything away. So let's pray. Father, we thank you so much because we realize that part of our job as believers is to give you glory. And Father, to make your name known and to make your name famous. And when we think of those kids that are at risk in Ethiopia, who wonder as they sleep on the streets in a huddle, sometimes cold, is there a God and where is he? And Father, in the midst of all that, we're able as an organization to financially support ministries that step into these situations and become light in the darkness, that touch lives, that call kids by name when they've been abandoned, where they don't have parents, where they're able to love them in the name of Christ and then share who this God is that has called them to the streets to rescue them. And Father, when we do that, we give you glory. So Father, thank you for this opportunity that you give us to reach across the seas from Memphis, Tennessee, all the way into Ethiopia, and to declare that God is love and that there is good news in that situation. And so, Father, we pray that we would be great stewards with the gifts that we receive. And we give you thanks that you have given us this opportunity. And we pray that these things would lift up the name of Jesus and that many kids would come to Christ because of what's been shared with them and how they've been touched. Thank you for each person here. May they travel home safely. Take home the cups. And remember to pray for TFC and to pray for these children and to pray for these ministries. We pray these things in the name of Christ. Amen. So thank you so much. Y'all are dismissed. Take your cups home. Grab some food. And for those of you who want to stay and help, we'll call you back in about 10 minutes.